Welcome, everybody, to Virtual Career Tuesday. This week, we are excited to have Central Wire Industries, which is probably not known to some of you, a manufacturing firm which actually started in Canada and is now across the United States, the UK, and Canada. And we're welcoming Bobby. Well, should we go by Bobby or should we say Robert Davis?
Bobby Davis. That's what
Bobby
everybody
Davis.
else calls me. So to my new friends, call me Bobby.
All right, all right. And for the students that are watching this, we know that you'll be watching this. It could be at 2 in the morning, could be at 4 in the afternoon, but this session is designed to let you know how to be a good, strong candidate for manufacturing firms and specifically for Central Wire Industries. And Bobby, if you wouldn't mind, just kind of give a little bit of an overview for Central Wire.
Oh, well, Central Wire is currently 13 facilities on 2 continents in 3 different countries. Which is a very fancy way of saying we manufacture in Canada, the United States, and in the UK.
Okay.
We originally started in the early 1950s in Perth, Canada. And from there, that company expanded by purchasing other smaller wire drawing facilities to get to the size that we are now. I came into the company. Where I'm sitting is a company by the name of Loose and Company, which many people may have seen if they drove out Route 44 on their way to the Vanilla Bean or up to Putnam. We sit at a big intersection there, but Central Wire purchased Loose and Company in 2018 and brought them under the umbrella.
Okay.
What made Loose and Company such an inviting target for CWI to continue its expansion is we do what Central Wire is famous for, and that is drawing stainless steel and high nickel alloy wire for use in industry, aerospace, medical applications, and used to make cable. So aircraft cable products that go into many of the airplanes that we all fly on today. What sets Central Wire and its affiliate companies apart from the rest of the industries is the vertical integration and is the technologies, the resources, and the locations that we have in the global manufacturing environment. So unlike many smaller manufacturers here in Connecticut or in the region, we have a big footprint here in Pomfret, but we also have a footprint in Texas, in Illinois, in Southern California, the Panhandle of Florida, Southern Florida, South Carolina, like I said before, Perth, Ontario, up in Canada, and then out in the oil fields, Calgary in Canada, and then in Rotherham in the UK. So from a corporate standpoint, we draw on all those resources, but also from an employee standpoint, you're not only interacting and selling around the world, literally, but you also have access to the people around the world and the opportunities at all those different locations. And I would say, to segue into what this means for students or what this means from a career standpoint with Central Wire, is you truly do have amongst and with the other 750 employees the chance to work globally and possibly move globally as well. So it's as the company has grown, the opportunities have inherently grown from there, not just in manufacturing, but in all the support that the finance role would play, or a marketing role would play, or an engineering role in particular, since we are so highly engineered from a product standpoint. So we're very proud of those resources that we have and the ability to touch different markets and bring people from their initial career choices out of school and work with them basically from the bottom up. I can't think of a better way of putting that one. And we're always doing recruiting. I know we were hiring for a marketing role here with the kids at UConn, the students at UConn. Sorry, we're not kids anymore.
That's okay.
But that the president, who is actually here this week, keeps mentioning our current vice president of the wire division, who literally started in our Dumas, Arkansas facility, sweeping the floor many, many years ago, and is now the vice president of commercial for the whole wire division. So you may find this, as students, you may find this in many organizations that you speak with, but I can say that it's very true here at Central Wire, and that is companies that know what they're doing, including us, find the right position for the talented, hardworking, and dedicated individuals, and you can spot those those people right away. And once you're in the organization,
Yeah.
you will we will find a path for you to keep you in here, because especially in the changing environment, the global environment, the world isn't, oh, we need 4 accountants, oh, we need 1 engineer, oh, we need this, and we'll keep those roles going. It changes so fast that even inside of my marketing department, here's a little anecdote I like to tell people, is that I have just hired in a new SEO person, the first person in the last 10 years that I have hired that had experience in the job that we were looking for. So Claire herself was a journalist and now is a marketing copywriter and heads up our wire division as far as that goes. I have another young lady who we hired who was graphic design, but brought her in to be a copywriter. So we're always looking for talent. We're looking for drive, determination, and an eagerness to learn, much more, and the fit more than anything else in that case, much more than we're saying, oh, great, you have a marketing degree and you had a 3.8 GPA. So when it comes to these meetings and when you're presenting yourself to a company, and you're, especially now with the everything being online to get things started, it's very important that that the employer knows you and understands you, because everybody can read a piece of paper to see how good a student you are.
Right.
But we need to understand what you want, what your desires are, and where that might fit within our organization, and how we can make use of your talents. So hopefully that tells you something about Central Wire and my rambling.
Well, in my mind, it tells me that you're a company that believes in the people that you hire, right? I mean, you started as what, a sales representative, right?
Yeah, I started. I had just moved up here from Maryland, where I grew up and went as an undergrad, and I started here in the on the sales floor, answering phones, giving quotes, just basically doing sales stuff. And then they noticed that I had a marketing background, and I took on more responsibilities from there. And then I became the sales and marketing coordinator, and then I became ultimately the sales and marketing manager, then the vice president of Lucent Company, and now I'm the director of corporate marketing for all of Central Wire when that purchase happened, and I moved up. So again, these roles didn't exist. Is a perfect example inside of a manufacturer, and the way we have to move and bounce and keep up with the global competition. As a manufacturer, you might think, oh, they have a bunch of machines and you just have a role and this is what it does. Sometimes it's like that. But in reality, you need to be able to keep up with the times and slide the right talented individuals into those roles. To elaborate on that a little bit, I personally and many of the managers here are very interested in the fit, but we're also very interested, especially when it comes to the more creative roles or the knowledge-based roles within a manufacturer, of understanding where you want to be in 5 and 10 years. Not the proverbial, tell me where you want to be in 5 years, but what do you want? What do you want to learn? Where do you want to be? And we have the flexibility these days to very much craft your role in the organization, what it is you want to learn and where it is you want to go. Again, manufacturing isn't, well, to some extent it is a guy stepping on a button or a woman threading a machine or something along those lines. But when it comes to the back office type work, when it comes to the supporting roles around the actual shop floor, with the internet, with the many locations, with the varied approaches to marketing and finance and engineering that you have to take to keep up with the pace of technology, we have a lot of flexibility to say, what do you really want to do? All right, that's your job. Let's go and build on that, double down on your strengths, and give you a lot of an opportunity to grow.
I love that. And I mean, one of the people that we were talking about before was Claire Gavin, who was an undergrad here at UConn. And let me see, I'm trying to see, she was a digital journalism and communication major, and now she's working with you guys as a copyright marketing assistant. So
great. Yeah, I would say a great example of someone who went to school for a particular profession and came out, and she wrote for the Willimantic Chronicle for several years, and she volunteered at her church, and she did a lot of digital copywriting and things of that nature. But just her abilities with language, her personality, her understanding of of communications led to being just a wonderful copywriter. So much in the first 6 months, she expressed an interest in wanting to do a little more leadership, and she's applying to go back for her MBA at UConn. But
Okay.
we've been able to give her a role where she can not only write and do our press releases and do our copy as far as that goes, but also build the websites, also work through social media. And as I said earlier, she's really stepped up with her background and her education and taken on a leadership role in coordinating the activities of our entire wire division,
Wow.
as far as working with their incoming requests and kind of managing her time. And she has one of the interns that we have is actually working with her.
Mm,
I wouldn't say under, but they're working together. She's managing her time
yeah.
because it's very flat here just due to the nature of what we do and how nimble we need to be and how quick you need to respond to the environment. So yeah, Claire has been a great addition to the team, as have all the folks that we've hired recently to build up this team. So it's a very exciting environment to be in. It's very fast paced. And when you get the right mix of experience and drive and personalities, it becomes a fun place to do a job inside of an industry where you might not think it is actually too terribly fun. But,
Right.
like I've said 3 times now, the global marketplace is such now that the roles inside of a traditional manufacturer have
Mhm.
changed, and they're much more like technology companies, and they're much more like financial operations, where you think of, you got to move fast and do it. We all have to do that now, or you won't survive based on foreign competition. So
Right. And I think that's one of the things that I was so intrigued by when you first reached out to us to talk to students is that, students may not look at a name like Central Wire Industries and think, oh, that's a name I recognize. I want to go work there. But once you start to learn, and that's kind of the point of some of these sessions, once you start to learn about what you're actually doing and that type of engagement that you're talking about with the employees, I think
mhm.
it changes the whole conversation, with somebody to say, this is why I would be interested in a company.
So a good example along those lines of what the smaller or mid-sized manufacturer
Hmm.
in the state of Connecticut or in this region can offer to a recent graduate or somebody starting out a career or somebody who wants to do something a little different is the number of hats that you wear inside of that organization. So you may hear names like Pratt and Whitney, Travelers, all those large names in the state of Connecticut
Uh-huh.
that you can work for. But many of the other manufacturers, including ourselves, we work with many of those bigger manufacturers just under them.
Hmm.
But due to the nature of the business itself and all the different technologies we have at our disposal, there is never a dull moment as far as what you're going to be working on in any given day. So a
Hmm.
typical day at Lucent Company at Central Wire in the marketing department is going to be working on a local press release because we just met with the food bank and gave them a $500 donation, plus
Mm.
setting up some social media posts in the voice of our president, plus finishing a couple of those web pages that you started for the Brush King division down in the Panhandle of Florida, or in Southern Florida, because you're working on a new cutting tool, plus going and
Right.
doing some SEO research because our Tech Mesh division, which makes filters for petroleum refining, needs a new pitch to give
Mhm.
at the upcoming industry meeting that they're having, and that's just Monday.
That's
So
just,
we work on the internal branding, we work on the external branding, we work on the internal communications, the external communications, and we do it for some of the best known industries and companies, but right below the surface. In aerospace, for example, our customers are Boeing and Pratt and Whitney and Sikorsky, and we make the components that go into. We are not that first tier, but we're right below. We're that supporting second tier that provides all that stuff. So we can brag about things like there being 5,000 feet of our cable in every Boeing 737. Right?
right.
I
Yeah.
make rope that's large enough to raise and lower a dam and small enough to do an open orifice endoscopy
Mm.
for companies like Boston Scientific or Stryker or Cook Medical. So if you've heard the name, and I like to say wire and wire rope is ubiquitously invisible, which is kind of a
Okay.
counterintuitive term.
Yeah.
But if you look outside on the telephone pole, between the two poles is a guy wire. We make those guy wires that go
Hmm.
between the poles. That's what's holding up the individual cable wire or the communication line that's running through. We also make the lashing wire, which they wrap around those two to
Hmm.
keep it attached to the wire.
Right.
We make ropes that are 1.25 inches in diameter and wire that's 1/1000th of an inch in diameter, which is 1/3 of the size of a human hair.
Oh my goodness.
Our equipment
Yeah.
is big enough to make bridge rope and fast and high tech enough that we need dedicated engineers to run that equipment every day. So the face of manufacturing is not what you would historically think of it as. Yes, we do have big burly men and women who work around the large equipment all day, but our primary workforce is a solid mixture of young men and young women. We're probably 60-40. In our engineering department and in our sales department, it's predominantly women these days, and degreed engineers, which are keeping pace with the technology march forward and running the actual equipment. So again, we have a nice mix of people, but it has kept pace with. So the outside the building looks the same, but as soon as you go inside, there's a lot of young individuals that are really running the organization from a highly automated, highly sophisticated environment. And then what we do, as I mentioned earlier, is we tell that story. So we create the websites and we create the employment pages and put out the press releases about all the things that we're doing. And that's what makes it so enjoyable for me and the team, is that we're always busy telling the things that most people wouldn't realize on a daily basis is truly going on inside that building.
Right. And I mean, you're creating just this wonderful energy around it. So let's get to the idea of telling the story. So how is a student who's interested, how do they tell their story? How do they explain, like, I've had, maybe one internship, I'm in college. How do I become the candidate that you're looking for?
So I mentioned it a little earlier about personality. It goes without saying that you got to have the chops. You got to have the credentials. You went to school, you studied the right things, you've shown your ambition, you've shown your desire to be successful. I think we all know that. That's kind of, just to sit at the table. That's your Annie, so to speak. Annie up is, I went to school, I'm interested. The first thing right now or the second thing after that is literally sending us the application and saying, we'd like to work for you. No one's going to come find you. But as soon as you show your interest, we sit down and we take a look to make sure that you have the general experience or general knowledge that we're looking for.
Right.
But beyond that, it becomes very important for us to get to know the real you. Okay. That's the part of me. We have a round of interviews, usually with myself and another HR person, to get to know you, tell you a little bit about the job, but then I always have the marketing team follow up and talk to you again.
Okay.
So
first interview is a phone?
Usually, or a video, or if you could come in, we'll try to do it all on the same day. But the idea is, I just want to make sure the little things, make sure you can have a conversation, make sure you can obviously answer some wacky questions, like I'm known to ask what the last book you read is, and do you like them fried or scrambled? Because it tells you a little something about the person, and if they can chuckle, it helps, because that's what a day in the life of Central Wire is like, is hearing my silly jokes sometimes. But beyond that, getting to know the team and the full feedback, because I sit in offices and I go to meetings and we're very busy, but you're going to be sitting with this other team of individuals. And it's very important to me that you bring the right personality and the right set of desire and drive. And what I mean by the right personality is just a generally inquisitive personality. Okay. So that you can, so that you're always trying to ask more. I want to know more about this. I want to do more about this. I'm not looking for a specific volunteer program or a specific course of study per se, other than you have the general thing. I want to talk to somebody that can banter, that is witty, and that shows they're truly interested. And that comes in all shapes and sizes and forms and speed. But that, to me, especially for a student coming out of school or early in one's career, is so much more important than putting together a laundry list of sports and activities. That shows you're a well-rounded individual. Right. But I want to see that you can interact with the other folks, and that you're generally outgoing, that you're generally able to keep pace. You can have a conversation. I don't know, when you guys get out in the world and you start interviewing people yourself, you'll be surprised how many people can't carry on a conversation. But beyond that, but again, if I had to say, the most important thing is be curious, be ready to have an honest conversation, and don't sweat the small stuff. Don't sweat the, remembering that I had this internship when I was a senior in high school, and then I joined the band, and that's not the big thing. It's being able to communicate, being able to come across as a person that that really wants to do this and that can work with the team is the best thing. So to prepare, just be yourself.
So that's wonderful. And what students will tell us is, if I can just get in the door, I can convince them that I'm the right person for the role. So sometimes there's that moment of, I'm going to apply on the website, I'm going to have a resume. Do you look at cover letters? Is that something that the firm asks for or would read?
Not something I generally ask for. I do read it because it tells you something. If I may be completely honest, and I don't know if I'm breaking with an HR policy or anything here.
We won't tell.
No, not really. Not at this level. Not where I'm specifically asking for someone with 15 years of web management experience is a little different than someone who's coming out of school. But yes, but I do read every resume that comes in. I do look, and I do try to schedule as many interviews as possible. Another thing that I will do to prepare for is sometimes I will give an early assignment that very much mirrors the first assignment that someone is going to do when they join the organization or when they come on as an intern, just to make sure that they can also write and they can also put those things together. But again, it's more about the thought process and less about trying to winnow down too much, or the old joke being you take biology 101 in your freshman year, and that kicks out all the people that just kind of thought they would get into science. And the real science, to say that's not what it's all about. Because there have been many times where I've gotten a great presentation, but like the person just wasn't the right fit, I think. And other ones where we've gotten one that you would say, maybe not the best, but you could tell they were thoughtful. You had a great conversation about it. So there's a bunch of different levels. Don't worry about the cover letter. As far as getting your foot in the door, I mean that is the tough part. But in order to balance that, I try to make sure that I, if time allows, I read all the resumes and I try to have as many phone conversations as I can. So, and another thing, you may experience this, but another thing I try to do, and maybe you can take this into your careers as you move forward, is I always try to take a minute or two at the end of an interview and tell people how I think they interviewed.
Interesting.
And then ask them, how do you think I interviewed? How do you feel? How do you get? Because it really is, and here's something they won't tell you. I'm giving away more secrets. Here's something they won't tell you. Especially in today's job market, I'm trying to convince you to join my team as much as you're trying to convince me to bring you in the door. People need employees right now. And even when it's not a tough market, I am selling you, because it's not, so many people come in and they say, I just want to get a foot in the door. I hope they get it. I hope I come across as the shining candidate. Well, I'm sitting in my chair going, geez, I hope I can explain how much fun this job is and what we're really looking for and how they can grow in this career, because we got a lot of decisions. Do you want to stay? How long are they going to stay? I'm selling to you as much as you're selling to me. And if you can kind of, you got to get past that part and just have a real conversation. It goes a lot better than worrying about whether or not, again, I told them about that junior year sports internship scholar program thingy. So,
And is there anything on the resume that you look for? So, I mean, we've talked about like the curiosity and the ability to really be kind of adaptable, right? So it sounds like you're looking for somebody who might have done, a lot of different things. But is there something that you're specifically looking for when you're looking at resumes?
Just that they have the basic qualifications for the position. I'm not, I read each one and I approach each one as a new resume. Like it doesn't become a jumble, but I'm trying to learn about that person a little bit. But the things I check for are, if we're asking for college, do they have a college degree? If I'm asking for experience, have they put down that experience? And then I try to form a picture in my head of what the person is going to bring to the table, and how I think that's going to fit with what we're hiring for. But then again, I want to talk to you, because it is just a pay per view. And unless you're terrible at resume writing, which most people aren't, but some people are. Unless you're terrible, if you've hit the basic stuff that you can find on a Microsoft Word template or in that one credit class you take in your senior year that shows you how to write resumes and job yourself,
Yeah.
then you filled in what I need to know. It's always interesting to me, the difference between what people think is important to put on their resume and then what you find out in that conversation. So I
Right.
would say, make sure you have on your resume information that matches the requirement.
Hmm.
And that's kind of what we're looking for. But then, remember, one of the things I will say in interviews is, let's get rid of this paper. I've seen the paper I know you've got the requirements. Tell me about you. Tell me about the other things. And you'd be surprised what comes out in that regular conversation
Yeah.
that they didn't think was important to put on the resume, but could quite possibly be the thing that says, oh yeah, this is definitely the one. This is definitely the one. So I like to ask about sports and baseball teams and book you read and things of that nature, because that'll generally put people at ease and then get them talking about what's there. So in conclusion, in my very long-winded way, I just say that make sure your resume matches the description of the
Okay.
job that you're looking for, but come ready to discuss the real you.
I like that. I like that a lot. And there's one line that we tell students: if you've got room on the resume, add in that interests line. That's, you got all the important stuff on there, like you said, the classes and the jobs, but saying that you played lacrosse or you're a Sudoku puzzle person or something that kind of can introduce the conversation of getting to that point of who you are. And I think for students, because you're giving such a wonderful concept here that they can be themselves, is
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
preparing to be themselves, right? So it's always important when you're getting ready for an interview to make sure that you also practice the idea of having that conversation about who you are, what's important to you.
Very, very much so. I think that nowadays is more important than it's ever been, as far as convincing, from my side, convincing people that they want to work here because we have similar interests or that we value you as a
Right.
person and your interests,
Mhm.
not just the classic relationship of, hi, I have job with money, you have
Yeah.
time would need money, and therefore are you going to follow all the rules, and are you tall enough or fast enough or no,
Yeah.
no. It's so much more important. If I could add another little anecdote in here about the coming prepared to talk about other things and
Yes.
putting that extra line in there. When I first applied for the job here at Lucent Company, many, many moons ago in 2005, I put a job on there that wasn't necessarily related in any way. It
Hmm.
was time that I spent working at a county park in Maryland where I grew up in Anne Arundel County, and it was called Mayo Beach. I grew up in a town called Mayo, Mayo. So you get one mayonnaise joke, and then we can move on from here. But I grew up in a town called Mayo, and I worked at Mayo Beach. So believe it or not, here's the weird serendipity or the weird way that the gods work these days. The fellow who ended up hiring me, who I was interviewing with, saw all my other qualifications, but
Hmm.
that one thing at the bottom was like, oh, that's weird, because he grew up in Baltimore and his middle name was Mayo, and we all knew the same thing. So it's that little thing, and we spent
Right.
45 minutes, job fine, whatever. But
Yeah.
maybe this set the tone for me going forward. But we spent 45 minutes talking about crabs and
Uh-huh.
the Preakness and Baltimore then versus Baltimore now, and his
Right.
family on the Eastern Shore and what I did at the beach. So it was a lot of that. I was comfortable enough after having talked to him to say, yeah, that's somebody I'd like to work to.
Hmm.
And he really liked me, and we had something to talk about. So you never know, that one little thing you might add. You got a little extra space. I wouldn't
Yeah.
say try to send you 14 pages, because that doesn't get anywhere, but
Page
add
on
the
it.
interest, add that one job, because you never know that time you spent in a summer working in a greenhouse, and the person who's hiring you and that whole team, they got an experimental tomato farm out back. That's the fun thing they do.
Right.
Afterwards they're like, oh, there you go. It's all those little things that I won't say give you an edge, but
Mm.
it gives you something else to talk about that isn't just, and your GPA was, and your course study was, and
Yeah.
you spent 14 months at this. That's boring. We
Yeah.
can teach you everything. We can teach
Right.
you what you need to know for the job, but we can't teach you the desire and that the interesting things that bring you together with the rest of the team.
Right. And I think that's such an important part, is you can, when you're looking at a manufacturing firm, I think people tend to think, oh, I don't have the skill, the skills for the technology side of it. But you can teach that. It's being that person that's part of a team that you can't really teach.
And the technology, as I mentioned several times, the technology inside of manufacturing is just light years ahead of what we were looking at 20 years ago. Even in the time that I've worked here for 16 years, it's
Right.
changed dramatically. So another area I would stress, and we do this from from an entry level operator all the way up to the president level, is we will teach you. You have to. There's no school out there that says, oh, go to school for wire drawing. It doesn't exist. It's not. And the skills required for marketing in a manufacturing environment, or being out on the floor, or an engineer running this, or the finances to understand how the money flows through the capitalization system and our investments that we make as a manufacturer, that's going to be very job specific.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be very much, we will train people internally. We put a lot of pride in our training program. Yeah. The general skills market that you might learn at a technical school these days, swinging hammer, welding, and things like that, very valuable as far as background goes, but there's going to be another 6 months to a year of just getting people up to speed and training here. So don't ever be afraid with Central Wire or with any other manufacturer to throw your hat in the ring, because you're going to have to learn those hard skills anyway. It's the soft skills we're looking for, the personality, the desire to learn, the general background on software and various other activities that show that you're going to want to do something, and you're going to want to come in here and enjoy. But everything else, it's on the job training.
And that's great advice. And I cannot believe that the half an hour has gone by already. But I wanted to offer an opportunity for our students or anybody on my team to ask a question from what we've been talking about.
Oh, no one's asking. That either means I'm great or you're all tired of hearing me talk.
No, it would be the you're great part. And it's usually, Bobby, to tell you the truth, it's usually that I have talked so much during it that they're like, okay, there's nothing left for us to ask.
All right, good.
Anybody have any ideas there? Okay, so then the one thing that I want to just add is, first, thank you so much for this, because I knew when we first had that conversation back a couple months ago when we were looking at that marketing role for you, that this would be a wonderful opportunity for students to see that other side of manufacturing and to get a feel for what it's like to work in the firms. So thank you for all of the information that you've given us. And if students do want to apply, I know that you said that there will be other jobs that are coming up a little bit later. So we're going to make sure that you're going to the website to, and actually, would it be Central Wire Industries that they're going to?
So we have two choices. If you want to see the breadth of what we're doing here, or you'd like to stay local, go to careers.loosco, that's LOOSC as in Charlie O.com. And you can see the current openings here in Pomfret. Including when the internship opens back up again to start again, but any of the other entry-level or mid-level positions, whether you're a senior graduating now and trying to figure out what to do, or you're a sophomore looking to get more involved, or you can go to centralwire.com. That's Central Wire, all one word, .com. And the careers page there has all the listings across all of our locations in North America.
Okay, so that was centralwire.com. And can you repeat the first one again?
Careers.loosco, LOOSCO.com.
Perfect. All right.
And that's for our location here. But like I said earlier, we can be the entry place into traveling the world and watching wire being made on 2 different continents, or you start out by applying if you want to move back home, or something close to there, or you want to get out of northeastern Connecticut. There's always openings, and we're always looking for talented people to bring up through the ranks and help the organization grow.
Outstanding. Well, I'm going to apply next week, because just the pictures from your kids on the wall make me
perfect. Yeah, I can have them draw some for you. Just
All right, so I'm going to stop the recording now.
All right.
Let me just, there we go, stop.